Welcome to the largest arena in North America. Here at the United Center, we create iconic stories. We're so excited to continue that legacy and creating another iconic moment here in welcoming the 2024 Democratic National Convention.
We will build the stage literally and figuratively for President Biden and Vice President Harris and our party to tell their story and of their accomplishments and historic achievements directly to the American people and ensure that every American understands what's at stake this November.
This staff is very dedicated to all that we're doing to save democracy, to save our freedoms, and to fight on behalf of what is right and what is just in America.
Joining me now on the latest edition of At the Table are the two executive directors of the two key committees putting together the Democratic National Convention in Chicago this August. Today, I'm having a conversation with Alex Hornbrook, who is the executive director of the Democratic National Convention Committee, and Christy George, who is the executive director of the Chicago Host Committee. I wanted to talk to you today because, or it's working out that we're talking today, because this is the day that both of you jointly in a ceremony got the keys to the United Center. We're 55 days away from the convention. So let's just jump in the time that we have. Very briefly, Alex, first just say what the DNCC does, and then Christy, just tell me for our viewers who don't live and breathe this, what the host committee does, and then what you do together. So if you could just summarize this, Alex, and then Christy, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. So the Democratic National Convention Committee is the national party committee, arm of the Democratic National Committee, charged with the planning and execution of our national convention. All of our party business, the logistics, and programming around our every 4-year national convention.
And the host committee is the 501c6 non-for-profit, nonpartisan entity in charge of fundraising, civic engagement, and liaising with the city, state, and federal entities to ensure that the logistics outside of the United Center and McCormick Place goes off without a hitch.
Right. So it goes without saying that in the end, even though we had these two committees, in my analysis, and as you know, the final decisions are made by the President Joe Biden and his team as to what the convention will look like, feel like, who will speak. But in the meantime, Alex, you were involved in the convention even when Chicago was making the bid to be the host committee city. And so you know conventions in ways few people do. Today with the keys, you're starting the build out. For people who have been to Bulls games and hockey games, what is it exactly you're going to be building?
Well, we are going to be building both the literal and figurative stage for President Biden and Vice President Harris and our party to speak directly to the American people about their record of accomplishment over the last 4 years and their vision for the next 4. So we are a pretty unique show, not exactly like a Bulls game or even some of the concerts that you might go and see at the United Center, but we're going to be working really hard over the next 55 days to do a lot of work. We'll be, creating facilities for your colleagues in the news media to cover all of the proceedings. We'll be creating some new and innovative spaces and opportunities for content creators and other folks who convey information to Americans in new and exciting ways. And of course, all of the accommodations that we'll need for our 5,000 delegates that'll be coming to Chicago from all 50 states, the District of Columbia, Democrats abroad, and our overseas territories to celebrate the renomination of our ticket and conduct our important party business.
Just to make sure we check the box, I cannot imagine that the Illinois delegation won't have a prime seating place by the stage, right?
We haven't made any final decisions there, but I have a feeling that Illinois is going to end up in a pretty good spot. Yes.
Right. What is the difference between the United Center hosted the convention in 1996, kind of the dawn of internet and telecommunications? You have the same building, but it's 28 years later. What is the difference, briefly, technologically, in what the challenges are and what you could do?
Sure. Well, it's an incredible facility, brand new back then for that 96 convention, but has really been incredibly well maintained. And we really have to thank, the leadership there, the ownership, and some of the folks who have kept that building going and the incredible team they have. There's a lot of just new challenges in how Americans consume information, but that's also a set of really exciting opportunities. So, we have, for the first time in convention history, opened a specific credentialing process for content creators. So folks on YouTube, Instagram.
So essentially, they will have some of the same access as print journalists from legacy outlets like the Sun-Times, when I represent here. And so that's what you're talking about. But let me ask you, when will we see the stage? The Republicans holding their convention in Milwaukee already have released a picture of a stage that looks pretty snazzy. Have you seen that? And what will yours look like in contrast? What have you got in mind?
We have seen theirs. Ours will not look exactly like theirs, but we're very excited about the ideas that our production team is putting together here. And so I imagine we are going to have a reveal a little bit closer to our convention than the Republicans have to theirs.
Okay, but it's starting to be built. Meanwhile, Christy, you have to oversee an organization that has to raise up to at least 84.6 million. We're told you're aiming to raise 100 million. How far along are you in your fundraising effort?
We are doing well on the fundraising front. We have a broad coalition of supporters, but we are not taking anything for granted.
I know that. A number, pick a number.
We are doing very well.
Okay,
Lynn,
I don't do generalities, but I have to try here. What do big donors? So you could take money from corporate entities, unions. You don't have the constrictions that federal candidates have here. If I'm a big Chicago company and I give $1 million, what kind of things will I get in return? Either an access to a convention or visibility?
We do work with each one of our partners to ensure that we are customizing a package that meets the experience that they are looking to have. So there isn't one specific thing that you would be able to get, but it is completely customizable. And we work with each and every partner to ensure that their experience lives up to what it is that they are looking for.
So give some examples. Again, hopefully people listening to this, I believe I know what you're talking about, but can you give some examples of what the experience could consist of?
Sure. I mean, there are some organizations or partners that would like to take part in some of the community-focused aspects of the convention. There are folks that are interested in having, for example, corporations that are interested in having their volunteers take part in the convention. So it really is a case-by-case
Corporations usually
basis.
want access to the floor. They might want a skybox. They might want some of the pre and post parties. I've seen some of the literature. That's the kind of aim of my question, not whether they go out to a neighborhood and help clean up some street or something. Not that's not important. Could you kind of direct yourself to those things? Because getting credentials for this is like gold. So if I'm given $1 million and I say I want to go every night, will I be able to get like something?
I think we work with our partners to ensure that they get the kind of experience that they would like, and that could vary. And part of that, and I will just refer back to it, part of that is the community-focused aspect. So there's certainly experiences that are inside of the building, but there are also experiences that are out.
Why don't I know? See, Alex's group operates under federal rules and has to disclose expenses. And I know you've given contracts already for production houses. Some of the payroll is there. I see how you've built in consultants and stuff. Why is it? Is there any possibility that you may voluntarily disclose the host committee donors anytime? I know you have to do it after the convention, but what do you think before?
So the host committee will absolutely comply with our requirements, and we will disclose our information 60 days after the convention.
Okay, so something to look forward to. So one of the big issues here for both of you, people have questions about security out the wazoo. Let me start with the money part. Congress has given both Milwaukee and Chicago $75 million to help pay these extra security costs. It could be staffing, overtime, some equipment. Do either of you have any sense yet if that 75 million is going to be enough for what the plans are?
I think the City of Chicago will be the recipient of that grant through the Department of Justice, and I think there was a broad effort to ensure that they were both Chicago and Milwaukee were able to receive that 75 million. I think that will absolutely cover the security costs that folks have, and we are excited that Congress did do that appropriation, and we support all of the city's efforts in procuring all of the equipment and covering all of the security costs that they have.
But more broadly, Lynn, as well, as you well know, the convention has been designated a national special security event, and that designates the United States Secret Service as the lead law enforcement agency to coordinate with CPD, as well as the variety of other, federal, state, and local agencies, and unlocks a variety of, resources and attention from these agencies. And they have been on the ground here as long as we have in Chicago, working through a variety of circumstances and contingencies. And so we are very confident in our security partners and their ability and preparation for this event.
On it, because as you see already, the stories are coming out comparing 2024 to 1968, the historic clash in Grant Park and other places in the city when the Democratic Convention was taking place, rather than 1996, which everyone agreed was a terrific convention, but it wasn't going on at a time where we have two wars going on and many, many other issues. How does that inform you in any way in what you're doing, or even in your work as you try to go out in the community and let everybody know about the convention?
Well, we don't think that 1968 is a particularly apt comparison, given the length and the duration of the war being faced at that time, the other seismic events happening in society, political assassinations, etc. But we always plan for protests. Protests are a part of every national convention. I know you've been to a bunch of them. You've got the 96 poster right behind you. There are protests at every convention. There were protests in Philadelphia in 2016, protests in Charlotte in 2012, in Denver, and as well as for the Republicans in the same years. And so this is something that, regardless of what the animating issue of the day is, that all of the professionals, both in those law enforcement agencies we discussed earlier, as well as on our team, are always planning and accounting for. And so we, again, feel very confident that we have thorough and flexible plans that will allow us to respect and protect people's First Amendment right to make their voice heard, but also to ensure that it's a safe and successful experience, not just for our delegates and the people visiting, but also for the people of Chicago.
Mm-hmm. So just curious, will both of you be going to Milwaukee to observe? Sometimes there has been a courtesy credentialing between the convention planners so they could attend each other's conventions and see. Will you be going to Milwaukee?
I have to be honest with you, Lynn, you're teaching me something, because I wasn't aware of that tradition, but I think that we will be hard at work here in Chicago that week.
The shots. A lot of this does get called either from the White House, Biden campaign, the Democratic National Committee. But so a few weeks ago, we were told there's not going to be a roll call because Ohio Republicans won't change the date of when the ticket had to be certified. It was August 7th. The Chicago convention is the 19th. You can't not be on the ballot in Ohio. So there's going to be a virtual roll call in the coming weeks. But by the time the president gets to Chicago, he will be nominated. How do you grapple with this? Not that his nomination was in any suspense, but the whole point is what? And what will you do? So now we're told a few days ago that there is going to be a roll call, kind of, not to really nominate someone, but I guess there was a terrific roll call video package pre-produced in 2020 in the COVID convention. Everybody loved it. So can either of you just kind of talk to me, maybe Alex first, how do you explain what the point is when everybody knows Biden has already been nominated?
Well, Lynn, there's a long tradition of the handful of states every cycle whose deadlines conflict with convention dates of making a simple fix to their ballot access procedures. Ohio Republicans, were not being straightforward about how this was going to be handled, and obviously the people of Ohio or any state not having the option to vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris was not an acceptable outcome, and so the party did make some adjustments to the rules. So that we would be able to ensure that the president and the vice president would be on the ballot in every state and territory. That doesn't preclude, anything that we might do here in Chicago. There's still an incredible amount of important, work to be done. The delegates are really excited to come here, to be together, to be in community, to work together, to meet. And so we are, really looking forward to welcoming them all here and doing that work and celebrating this nomination. And so we're just full steam ahead on all of our programmatic planning here.
So how are delegates, as the transportation plans, I know in some of the agreements, I did a story a few weeks ago on one of the city agreements here. There has to be a master transportation plan. How are people going to get back and forth? And is that all settled yet? And are we still in the works on that?
It's not all settled. We are still in the works on that, made some good progress, and I'll look forward to talking to you about it in the days ahead.
On it. McCormick Place, it has a much larger, when we had the convention in Chicago in '96, the other place where there were press conferences were the hotels on East Wacker, and now we have the McCormick Place complex. How important is that facility going to be during the day? Do you envision this like hundreds of meetings during the day, or tell us a little bit about how that will be used, since it's such an enormous facility. Also, two of the headquarter hotels are there too.
That's right, yes. And we won't be using the entire McCormick complex. As you said, it is a really enormous complex, largest in North America, I believe. So we're very excited to be using a good chunk of it, not the whole thing. So there will be, I don't know if I can put a number, if it's hundreds or dozens, but quite a few meetings there. So the DNC has, I want to say, 17 official caucuses and constituency and regional caucuses, as well as issue-based councils. And so all of those groups will be meeting. Some of them will be meeting multiple times per day, having a variety of programming, speakers, things like that. We're also in discussions with our colleagues back at the DNC, as well as at Biden for President, on other opportunities that we can offer to folks for trainings, for other speakers, ways that we can engage folks, both attendees during the daytime, but also folks who don't necessarily have a credential for the official proceedings in the evening. What are some other opportunities that we have to really make folks both who've traveled in or who live here in Chicago feel like they are, not feel like, but actually are a part of the experience. So there will be quite a few. It'll be a real hive of activity. And again, as you referenced, we'll have our headquarters hotels down there. So there will definitely be a lot going on.
And Christy, I know we're getting close to our time. One of the key things I know you're working on is to try and spread the business around Chicago. You have many programs dealing with small businesses, minority vendors. And I know you've had seminars and our requests for proposals out. Are you keeping track, and can you tell me about how many millions, how are these contracts going, and how is the distribution curve going?
Absolutely. So that's something that we started on day one, thinking about how we could incorporate not only businesses that were from diverse backgrounds, but also how we could incorporate businesses from the neighborhoods. One of the things that we did is we started a vendor directory. We have over 2,300 vendors in there. Approximately 70% of them are diverse, and all of them are from Illinois. What we're focused on doing there is sharing that vendor directory as well as our venue portal with all of the delegates, as well as the many visitors that will be coming in from out of town, to ensure that the ancillary events that they will be hosting during DNC week, that they contract with local businesses, and primarily, hopefully, as many women-owned, minority-owned, disability-owned, veteran-owned businesses, LGBTQ+ owned businesses as possible. Now, in addition to that, we've had a very strong focus with our prime contracts. So we've issued a number of RFPs to date. Approximately 8 of them have gone to diverse partnerships or diverse-owned businesses. One of them, which you may have seen today, was Show Strategy, which is a business that is a product of a son of Englewood. And so for us to be able to highlight that business and to ensure that they are taking part in such a big part of the convention.
What do they do?
It's everything from building out the media lots to, which I'm sure you will enjoy very much, to also building out the signs and doing work inside of the United Center. So it's a really incredible opportunity to have a local owned business, to have a piece of the convention in such a significant way. And we are very intentional from the start on that. Which you had mentioned about doing seminars. We did a number of procurement outreach events all throughout the city, one on the west side, one on the south side. We did many virtually, and the goal was to get the information about our RFPs out to as many people as we possibly could so that we could see this response from a number of local businesses. And we were able to get so many that bid on our contracts and that will be part of this convention, which is really a key hallmark of this convention. So we're very excited for it, and we're excited to get that economic impact out to the communities.
Last question. I get this one all the time. People say, there's a saying in Chicago politics, nobody wants nobody, nobody sent. So people who just want to go to the convention, I get this all the time. I just want to go. I'm a nobody. I'm not connected. I'm not a big donor. I don't work for any politicians. So I live in Chicago and I want to go. I don't even want to volunteer. I just like to get in. I'm a nobody. What do they do?
Well, Lynn, we're going to have a number of activities, as I mentioned earlier, particularly in our daytime McCormick Place-focused activities that will be open to the public, some maybe pre-registration, things like that. But that we're hoping to offer a lot of opportunities there for folks who are not otherwise engaged. Obviously, in terms of the official proceedings themselves, that is a credentialed activity that is, where folks largely are delegates and folks who are doing the work of the party and of reelecting, the president and the vice president. So, that is the focus of, the attendance in the evening, rather than a broad general open public attendance, but we hope to engage both the community here in Chicago through some of those other activities, as well as through all of the innovative ways that we are trying to bring this convention to people where they live, through the program, through the new strategies, incorporating content creators and other innovative communications tools that we have to make sure that we're reaching the broadest audience possible.
Like at the South Shore Cultural Center or something, so people could come together and walk? I mean, is that what you mean? In terms of sharing an experience, if you can't get in because you can't. Though volunteers, if you get the right assignment, you may find yourself in there. Is that what you have in mind? I mean, during convention week itself, something like that?
We are thinking about a number of different options on engagement. Watch parties are certainly one of them, but absolutely, Lynn, we are considering that as well as a whole host of other options to get folks engaged.
Okay, our time is up. More to come. This is a conversation that we will continue, and you all know, and all our listeners, I've been covering this for years, as Alex has. My thanks to the executive directors of the Democratic National Convention Committee and the host committee, Christy, George, and Alex Hornbrook. Thank you for joining us on this latest edition of At the Table.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you, Lynn.